Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. You tuned into Women's AM with myself, Adama, and on our panel today we have sisters Ayan, Liz and Camelia joining us for this morning. So Pamela, mashallah, you're doing fantastic work at FOSIS. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about that because it actually links to the discussion that we're going to have later on, inshallah. FOSIS stands for the Federation of Student Islamic Societies. And can you just tell us what job does the FOSIS organisation do, and how important is their work?
Okay, well, FOSIS, we represent Islamic societies. We represent over 100 Islamic societies in UK and Ireland. So it's like a national effort. And what we do is we represent Islamic societies, we work with them, we help develop them, we run projects for them. So essentially, we're just helping to boost the work of Islamic societies, and we're working to represent them like on a national level. And also, like, the main purpose of our work is unity, so it's uniting all the students across the country, uniting all the Islamic societies, and ensuring that they're working to like their best and that we can help them in that.
Okay, it's really interesting. And your role within that is head of communications.
Yeah, head of
what does that entail exactly?
So head of communication. So I monitor like the external communication and internal communication. So my main responsibilities externally would be running the social media channels. So that's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I work with all the regional and national general secretaries to ensure that they're working with getting information out to their region specifically, or like work related to their committees. I deliver training to the relevant general secretaries and the relevant people within the organisation to make sure that they're developing skills that they can use in their role.
Okay.
Sounds pretty intense.
Very intense. But you're also a part-time master student as well, so juggling between that can be quite interesting, which is actually going to be related to a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about soon as well.
I wanted to ask you, because I know you said that you have a degree in English literature and Russian, and I wanted
Russian at university.
Yeah. So what made you interested in doing that?
Well, I've always been interested in languages, but Russian in particular, I wasn't planning on doing those extra. I had to do extra credits as part of my degree, and I wasn't planning on doing Russian particularly. But I ended up signing up to the modules, and yeah, I really loved it, and I carried it on.
That's really fantastic, inshallah. Well, we do hope that your master's degree goes well for you, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Well, let's go to our next segment now with her views. University, a most exciting time for a young adult and the place to broaden one's mind and intellectual capacity. A place where you learn about who you truly are and gain the independence and opinions to guide you through this vast world. Unfortunately, university also comes as a challenge to some of our young adults, a place full of temptation, contradictions, and at times prejudice. What can we do as parents, siblings and friends to help equip our young people with the confidence they need in order to strike a balance with this newfound independence and their identity as Muslim? What do you think are the main challenges Muslim sisters face at university? What are the solutions? We'd love to hear from you and your questions. The number to call in will shortly appear on the screen, inshallah. Well, I'm just going to fire away with this. What is the reality of university life? Because for a lot of people who are watching this, maybe they never went to university or they have siblings who will soon go to university. So what is university life all about?
Well, I think, as with everything, university life, it's about, it has its pros and cons, but I think especially with university, you're going to that stage where you're emerging as an adult, as an independent person, and you're gaining that level of independence that you haven't had before previously. Yeah. So I think it's about, for a lot of people, I think university is about finding themselves, and you're in an academic environment, you're developing intellectually and spiritually, and I think working with Muslim students and being a Muslim student myself, I realised that a lot of people do find themselves spiritually at university. Is that stage in your life where you leave the comforts of your surroundings, your old friends, your school, your parents, for a lot of people that move away from home, and it's kind of like you gain that awareness of your religion and the importance that it plays in your life as an independent individual.
You are essentially flying the nest, aren't you, and finding your sort of niche within life as well. And it's quite interesting you talked about pros and cons, because some people might say that the benefits of going to university is of course getting an education, knowing people, and some of the cons might be the party culture, and sort of hanging around with friends that may not necessarily be a great influence on you and whatnot.
Especially at university, it's the first probably, and maybe for a lot of people only time, you're going to be surrounded by people from every single country in the world. You're surrounded by leading academics, you're surrounded by people that like, you know, will go on to be like successful, and everyone has that sense of optimism. And I think it's about making use of like that environment and ensuring that you know, you're making the most of it, and you're not just confining yourself to like what you're used to previously. It's about going outside of your comfort zone, but obviously within the limits of like the religion as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Sister Ayan, university life is a conundrum of so many different things, and one of the big issues that a lot of sisters find and other students find is having to find a balance between their study and social pressures. So how can they find that balance?
Well, first you can start off by making some really good friends. Yeah, so because friends will either help you on your journey or they'll hold you back. So if you find yourself a good group of friends that you know when you need to study or you need help with something, that they're going to be there to help you along the way, and that when it's times to, you know, kind of chill out a bit, you know, that they're not going to take you to places that you don't need to be or that you don't need to go to. So everything has a balance. So having good friends is one of the things. Also, you know, your purpose of being at uni, I mean, it's not just about getting a degree, it's about forming lifelong relationships as well with the people around you. Hopefully that'll help you in your future career. You don't know that. And you know, joining societies that are appropriate to your studies, you know, like for example the Islamic society, especially if you're Muslim, will really help you because it'll help you keep you grounded as well, because university is like, it's like a whirlwind experience. It's like it starts so suddenly, it's so different to anything you've done before, and then it ends so quickly. 3 years just whizzes by. And also joining other societies as well. You know, everything, like if you're into knitting, there might be a knitting society. If you're into extreme sports, you might get into that. So you know, it's just about finding a balance between your deen, your academia, and also the sort of your hobbies and interests as well. So it's not just about studying, because then you'll just burn out.
Definitely. I mean, and the reality is, even when you do leave university, you'll still have to find the balance between family, work and home. So university is definitely a great sort of platform to help prepare for that as well. And Sister, I mean, as Sister Ayan said, it's not just only Islamic societies that you can join. I remember going to my freshers there not so long ago and seeing all these sorts of societies and really being spoilt for choice. But how important is it that sisters do think about joining Islamic societies, for example, and the work that they do to help them sort of get that sort of grounding and balance?
I think with the large majority of Islamic societies, what you'll see is they're not just catering like for, you know, a lot of people might just think an ISOC just does, you know, a few Islamic lectures and that's it. Like a lot of Islamic societies, you see they're doing great work, like in all sorts of platforms. So you're kind of, like with an ISOC compared to other societies, you're kind of opening yourself up more. Like it's not just a really niche society. Like they actually cater for a lot of things. Like a lot of ISOCs, they'll do things at exam time to help you with your revision, like time management, those sorts of things as well. They do like really exciting projects, charity projects, you know, volunteering work. You get all that out of it as well. So I think especially for sisters that are moving away from home, there's hardly any halal like kind of avenues you can take at university without kind of, you know, coming across something that you might be prohibited from. So I think especially for sisters, the Islamic society provides that, you know, safety net, so you know that you're working within a safe environment, and you know, I just think it's especially for sisters, and you'll find that in a lot of Islamic societies, the majority of members are sisters as well. And
you're all on a journey, so ultimately you are with people who are sort of like going through the same sort of difficulties that you're going through, so you always get that support. But coming back to this issue of support, I mean, it is essentially flying the nest, even if you're a daytime student, because you're taking on new responsibilities. But Sister Liz, how can family members ensure that Muslim students to be will get the best experience as possible?
I think it's important that you talk about what's coming and that you find out what they're going to expect from it, and maybe explain to them a little bit about what the realities are. You know, I think all of the sisters on the panel today have mentioned, you know, about the changes you go through while you're at university, the things you're exposed to while you're at university. I think just as long as they, you know, you have those conversations before you go, and you understand as well that for, you know, the Muslim that's going off to university, they've got expectations as well, and they're probably really excited about it, and, you know, you don't want to rain on their parade and make them too scared to enjoy the experience and have a good time, because university days, you know, is a fantastic time, and it is such a short time, and it does go, you know, so quickly. So you really want them to enjoy it, but by the same token, you know, you really want them to get the most out of it. And I think the best way by doing that is maybe to sort of preempt some of the things that you're going to come across. For example, we were talking upstairs about, you know, sometimes the living arrangements, you know, what kinds of things might you encounter if you're living with non-Muslims? Ask them, how would you deal with that? And, you know, maybe give them some advice about the best way to deal with that. You know, encourage them to enjoy it, but also keep in mind, you know, you are there for a purpose. The purpose is to get a degree, and obviously to kind of maintain your Islamic identity whilst doing so. So, you know, I think communication is definitely you know, a big issue.
Or even speak to other people within your family or friends who have gone to university, who can give you sort of insight into that. Because I think this issue is very important.
It's true, and actually that's a really good point, because I think sometimes, you know, I think particularly with parents, the whole, you know, I want you to learn from my mistakes thing, you know, it never really washes, does it? So sometimes it's nice for them to speak to maybe like a younger relative that's maybe done the university thing in recent years. That might have a bit more of an effect.
Definitely, and I think this I won't say culture clash, but this clash of coexistence, because it's almost like a lot of sisters might come from very traditional families who've kind of inculcated within them Islam, and they go to university and it's kind of a big shock. And sister, what do you think about that?
Well, I think the thing that parents or relatives have to be prepared for is that, like I said, people find themselves at university, they come across all these radical ideas, you know, you're kind of exposed to all these ideas that you might have never seen before. And especially a lot of people that start practicing Islam at university, I think that as parents and relatives, you have to encourage people to take it slowly, you know, settle into it, and whatever, even if they come back to you with, like, you know, certain things that you might not agree with, just understand that, you know, they're going through that stage that you went through at that moment in time, and you just have to remember to, you know, take it slowly and understand where they're coming from, and, you know, relate to them on that level. And I think that really helps, especially with, like, parents or older relatives. It helps to have that kind of, you know, level of understanding.
Absolutely, sister. One of the big issues, I think, that may even be discussed amongst family members with Muslims who are going to universities is the issue of free mixing, which, to be honest with you, even if you do step into university, before that maybe you would have had some idea of what free mixing is, but because university is such an expansive space and it's so much more potent, how can we help sisters understand the significance of free mixing and where they can draw the line to stay on?
Well, you know, free mixing, you know, what does it mean? You know, we'll talk about what it means, yeah? For a lot of people, it means different things. But Islamically, we know that what that means is that we can't get too overly familiar or overly friendly with the opposite gender. That doesn't mean to say that you can't say hello, how are you, be polite, and, you know, establish some sort of, you know, working sort of relationship, because obviously you're going to be in study groups, you're going to have to work with other people. So, and it's not going to work that you're going to say, oh, no, free mixing, I can't do that. So I can't speak to this person, and, you know, I can't do this study group and things like that's not how it works. The point is that you're not in a situation you're becoming overly familiar, because we know, you know, familiarity can lead to different things. So as long as you know that you're doing what you need to do in terms of your academia and you're maintaining a respectful distance, then you're okay, inshallah. Yeah. So as long as you know that you're not overstepping the bounds in terms of you're not going to do anything that's going to lead to any sort of wrongful actions, then you're safe. You're safe. And the thing is that you can't escape being around the opposite gender, because when you go outside of your house, you're going to be surrounded by both male, female. When you're at university, you're going to be surrounded by both male and female. And the thing is that you have to remember that as well as that, you're in a place where people are going to, just as you're new to experiencing university, there are going to be people who are new to experiencing Muslims and Islam. So you've got to be able to present that in a good way as well. So that means that although you're not free mixing, you're giving them the mannerisms and the etiquette that we learn in Islam, and that for them is going to be like, oh, so this is what Muslims are like, this is what Islam is like, oh, it's not so bad, you know, and they'll learn to respect that sort of distance as well, while maintaining a good sort of working relationship with each other.
I think that is such an important point, isn't it?